are back in the OpenText studio. I'm joined now by Jayson O'Reilly from CYBER1. Firstly, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to chat. I know that today is obviously going to be a very busy day for yourself, but yeah, we do appreciate it.
No, listen, it's always great to be invited to one of our strategic partner events. We get a great opportunity to engage with customers and also, believe it or not, learn quite a bit. I think in the information security space and information space, things are changing so quickly. So again, we learn as much as we talk. So that's great.
Great stuff. So we'll chat a bit more about kind of what your role here, what you hope to achieve at today's summit is going to be about. But before people that don't know, perhaps people that are joining the live stream and don't really know much about CYBER1 and your role, kind of what do you do there?
Yeah, I'm the managing director of CYBER1 Solutions South Africa. I look after effectively our services business, our products business, and effectively revenue growth in the territory. Customer support is obviously a very big aspect of my role as well. And really strategically making sure that the business delivers what the country expects for us to deliver and our customers expect, and then most importantly innovate, right? I think in this time of transformation, innovating is important. So we look at a very clear value proposition to our customers. One is business as usual, and then the other is really focusing on how do we help them innovate for the future, because I think that is changing quicker than we know.
Sure. I mean, information security, it is rapidly evolving, as you mentioned. What is kind of the outlook from your customers as regards that? Are they now seeing it not as being a grudge purchase, or rather a grudge kind of consideration? It's something that they actively have to get involved with? Yes and no.
Sure. I think the reality, what we see is, and cyber has a seat at the board table, right? And that always means that effectively 5 years ago, actually 3.5 years ago when COVID hit, all of a sudden we had the seat at the board table.
It feels like 5 years.
It's crazy,
like
right?
10 years.
Crazy. The key thing for us then is we got a seat at the table, which is great. The challenge is we also got a whole bunch of budget. I think in the last 3 years, and the statistics that recently came out in a number of reports, was that we haven't done any better than what we did prior to COVID. So more budget, more effort, more complexity, more transformation. Many of the customers are starting to feel that now. So, we talk about it when it's nice to have a seat at the board table. However, you've now got this pressure as a CISO and a CIO to show what you've spent. And a lot of people are struggling there.
So I'm assuming there's a lot of pressure now to kind of prove what you're actually being paid to do.
Exactly. So, I mean, we spend a lot of time with our customers focusing on outcomes, because I think one of the things that you struggle with is the measurement of spending all of this money, and how does that translate to a return of investment for the business. And that's a tough ask, because it is an insurance policy or assurance policy a lot of the time. So there's a lot of things that we have to reimagine for our customers. How do you prove the investment's working? How do we know the technology you've purchased is now able to protect your organization? How do we move you from a defending to a protection? It's a very interesting space where we find ourselves, and a lot of CISOs are struggling in that space, because there's two frames of thought a lot of the time. Is one, align with governance, and let's tick all those boxes and follow the relevant frameworks. Or there's two, let's just defend the organization. But we haven't seen any attacks in the last 2 years. So are we really getting our money's worth? It's an interesting conundrum. And also, I think with the cloud, man, there's a lot of complexity that's now being arranged. Everybody thinks the cloud is simpler. It's not bringing a level of simplicity.
Yeah, especially when it comes, I'm guessing, to information management.
You got sprawl, right? A lot of people don't know where their data lives. A lot of people don't know how much data they're consuming. Cloud services that, what do they call it? The ability to manage your infrastructure without knowing what's going on. It's virtually impossible. And we see a lot of customers. I read a really good article out of Europe, because, they're a lot more progressive than some of us are. And when you read some of the articles, how many people are now pulling information out of the cloud because of the costs and the kind of savings they're seeing by going backwards as opposed to moving forwards, but still enabling innovation. So we're getting to that precipice, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting to watch.
Right. I guess as far as CYBER1's kind of involvement here at the summit, what are you guys aiming to achieve?
Well, for us, it's simple, right? We've been with OpenText probably for the last 3 years. We've decided as a business to really spend time specializing and focusing on OpenText portfolio. Initially, Micro Focus had again, we know they were really, really innovative in some of the key spaces, but they had a lot. So we've spent probably the last 4 or 5 months focusing on how we specialize and also building up our managed services capability. So what we hope to achieve here is give people a taste of our capability, because again, when you look at what we do from an information security perspective, data protection perspective, it's about trust, right? So, and building trust doesn't happen over Teams, I'll tell you that much.
Sure, yeah.
So it is about connecting. I think one of the things that as South Africans we do so well is when we're sitting in a room together, we happen to get a better feel, we happen to get a better understanding, and most importantly, we're able to answer the tough questions easier. So, for us, these events are important. We've invested quite a bit into the OpenText cybersecurity and information security and data security space, and we want to give people a really good feel of what we've been able to achieve in such a short time.
Sure, I could ask you about information security quite a bit, but I do want to get your thoughts on POPIA. There was that mad scramble to get compliant, but it seemingly has no teeth because the information regulator hasn't issued out any notable fines. Yeah. Do you think it's going to take something like that to happen before companies start taking the security of the data more seriously?
Well, look, I love that, right? And I think as South Africans, we often have to reflect. So let's take an example. You said we haven't issued a fine. We have issued a fine. Unfortunately, you and I are paying for it, right? Going to the Department of Justice because they didn't roll out their antivirus, and now that's 5 million rand. Unfortunately, you and I are paying for that, right? Because it comes out of our taxes. So it's very interesting for me that has been our first engagement. One of the things I can tell you, because I'm linked to obviously a number of these communities, is the regulator is employing the right people. They've got the right advisory, and I think it's taken them that time to get there. Whether they scale, that's always a challenge, and those that are, of an opinion, because it is a legal fraternity that gets involved very heavily in the privacy space. Those opinions are what you've just said, is we haven't seen any action. Action will happen. Unfortunately, I think what we see is that tier one customer, your big banks, your big finance, your big telcos, all of those people have moved a lot quicker. What you find is below that, we're moving slowly because this POPIA thing is unfortunately a 4-letter swear word sometimes.
Sure.
Compliance is a cost. When we look at it ourselves, and we like to eat our own dog food, it's a significant cost to the business. And it doesn't always make for easy reading when there's a line item that says cost of compliance X amount of rands, right? So look, it's time. I will mandate is that when we have our first corporate customer who is in the headlights, and there is one at the moment, not the biggest client, but the minute that there is the first fine or there is the first judgment, I think the market and the regulation will start to hold a bit more teeth. But right now, everybody's erring on a gear of just in case. It's almost like the Gauteng tolls, right? Where very simply it's everybody was holding out.
Yeah, that's another swear word.
There we go, exactly. So again, some people were holding out, some people were subscribing, and those that didn't subscribe, they're the winners, right? So again, I'm hoping that doesn't happen with POPIA, but again, a lot of legal people are getting involved, a lot of opinions are being shared, and when, as a technologist and a data protection, consultant to clients, the minute that we start sharing opinion, sort of the technology takes a side. So it's always difficult. We've got to try and find those balances. The CISO has also become this myriad of what their job actually entails and what is actually their responsibility and what isn't. And I think organizations globally are grappling with that. You look at the CISO's job 8 years ago, and you look at the CISO's job today, you can't keep throwing things at the CISO, right?
Sure.
There's other parts of the business that need to take accountability for this. So I think that's all about maturity,
Okay, so Jayson, the last thing I wanted to ask you was just around changing mindsets. You mentioned that's a really difficult task. When you're talking about data and security, people often think it's just about crunching numbers and looking at line items, but there is a human element. It's about a paradigm shift as far as thinking is concerned. What are some of the mechanisms that CYBER1 kind of goes with as far as kind of changing mindsets?
So one of the key things for me, and you know, I've been very fortunate to be in cybersecurity and data security for over 23 years. We still like to do the same things expecting a different result. Many of our organizations have still got the same processes, the same policies, and the same technologies in their environment. I think with the advent, and I'm going to talk about them both, artificial intelligence, machine learning, the one thing we know about our adversary is they create, together with AI, an army of capability, a syndication of capability.
It's a business, though.
It's a business, correct, 100%. But they've created this capability. AI has just made it a lot easier for them, and I love to have that conversation. But many of our customers have still to get there from a data protection and a cyber perspective. If we understand that the mindset at the end of the day is protecting one known element of bad, which we know most technologies are all about signatures and all about, you know, not necessarily knowing what bad is, but trying to figure out what bad is. And, you know, it was the age-old Gartner model, which is the multi-tiered defense strategy, right? Which we still subscribe to. The problem is there are still so many people practicing that. Whereas the mindset now needs to, as we've innovated with our networks and moving to the cloud and all kinds of fancy acronyms, we have to think about the same for cybersecurity and data protection, because those capabilities exist. You just need to understand what you're looking for. And believe it or not, as an organization and an OpenText, that's exactly what we talk about. We talk about how do we do more with less. We talk about how do we reduce the complexity. And it's not just replace one with the other. Many of our customers are on a journey with Microsoft, and you know, we support that journey. But a lot of our customers have been on that journey for 36 months and yet still have to appreciate the value of what they've invested in. So the mindset that has to change is think about the problem from an adversarial perspective, and then look back at your business and figure out where you're going. And with those aspects, I believe you'll deliver.
Great stuff. Jayson, I do appreciate you taking time. I know we could chat about this industry
forever, absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm hoping you'll have more conversations with people at the summit. And best of luck with CYBER1, and hopefully we'll be chatting again soon.
Thank you so much for the time.
Great stuff. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you.